Thanks, excuse me. Thanks, Justin, and good morning, everyone. I want to begin with a huge thank you to Prime Minister Lee for his gracious welcome and for that terrific dinner last night. And of course, to Mike Bloomberg and his star team of organizers. Heck, they've even brought that monsoon outside to help the farmers. So now, we faced challenges together these past 2 years, but we've also seen resilience, tenacity, and sheer heroism. Now we need governments, businesses, market participants, and citizens in every country to grapple not just with the challenges of building back those things we feared we'd lost, but also of building beyond the national and global economies we once had. We should build beyond what we had to ensure not just recovery, but greater resilience and higher quality, more inclusive, and more sustainable growth. And we should build beyond to harness more innovation, foster greater equity, and create more opportunity for all. It gives me no pleasure to say that I fear we are not on the path to do that. COVID-19 exposed dangerous flaws and added fuel to the trends that are deintegrating the global economy. It was a badly needed wake-up call to changes already occurring in the world. But too few countries are responding with necessary structural reforms or cooperating to assure a robust and resilient future global economy. Indeed, some countries have made non-cooperation a central plank of their economic policies. The spirit of non-cooperation is embedded in politics and in a reaction to real economic disruptions. This is anchored in the real experiences of those left behind. The cause may be technology, trade, China, or a combination of these. The effect is the same. But the solution is not to upend an open economic system. While capitalism is imperfect, there is simply no better system for generating growth, opportunity, and prosperity. But it must be constantly upgraded to meet changing economic and societal circumstances. So we need to relearn the lessons of the past and rework policies to expand economic opportunity for our citizens. We must mitigate the erosion of the basic pillars that are essential to a well-functioning economy. These are effective and a trusted government, well-functioning markets, and international cooperation. Today, all three of these pillars are being sorely tested. Government is the foundation of well-functioning societies, but in a recent survey of 28 countries, trust in government is down almost 10%. Governments must build back trust by being more transparent, delivering opportunity by investing in people. They must also upgrade and enhance education and social programs, invest in infrastructure, and steward the environment for future generations. Human capital is the most essential because human capital is what differentiates one economy from another. It is a critical ingredient in bolstering productivity and economic resilience. Physical capital is also essential. The world needs more and improved and cleaner infrastructure, built and financed by all major economies. More connectivity and more directions will be a net benefit to the world. We also need a second pillar to thrive: well-functioning, safe financial markets and with good government policies to facilitate them. Today, cross-border financial disruption is a major and growing risk. In 2008, a crisis in the U.S. financial markets disrupted the global economy. In 2015 and this year, disruption in China rippled through global markets. There are those in America trying to compel financial decoupling with China. But wholesale financial decoupling is impossible, and partial decoupling is likely to make the United States, China, and the world more susceptible to financial crises. It is crucial that we have mechanisms for the world's first and second largest economies to coordinate, because the only way to put out the next big fire will be with global coordination. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, it sure worked in 2018, particularly with China. Capital markets are a core element of a country's competitiveness. Now, while I know banks and asset managers aren't popular, the fact is the U.S. benefits by having its preeminent financial institutions operate in China, but on a level playing field, and I look forward to that. Chinese capital markets will be safer when world-leading institutions bring best-in-class risk management, accounting, and governance. And then, when the inevitable disruptions occur, U.S. regulators will have first-hand market knowledge. And if U.S. firms don't operate there, it will be difficult to maintain their global leadership when the British, European, and Japanese firms do. And when these nations and Hong Kong welcome the best Chinese companies to list on their exchanges, it will be harder for New York to maintain the world's financial center, or remain the world's financial center. I recognize China's opaque accounting and murky corporate governance rules need a lot of work. But the calls to resist cross-border capital flows are not just about accounting standards and corporate governance. And I think an honest assessment would have to admit that they're also about strategic competition. But competing strategically shouldn't mean making it harder to compete economically. And there lies the challenge of decoupling. Just when governments should be cooperating in ending the pandemic and rebooting growth, rancor and antagonism stand in the way. Nowhere is this clearer than in the current state of U.S.-China economic relations. Some believe we shouldn't do any business with China, that it's impossible to compete and collaborate at the same time, and that business is somehow unpatriotic unless it brings wholesale political change in its wake. But this is a false choice. Selective decoupling is essential to protect advanced technologies, and no country should be over-reliant on another for a critical product. But some of the de-integration has been counterproductive, and more is coming. Is it really in the American interest to walk headlong down the path of a wholesale decoupling from China? I hardly think so. Let's be clear. The rest of the world isn't going there, so the U.S. alone would break global supply chains and cut off U.S. workers from some of the largest markets and fastest growing markets of the future. And without cooperation in the international system, there will be chaos. The Biden-Xi summit is an important step in the right direction. But let's not kid ourselves that one leaders' meeting will resolve the real strategic and competitive tensions between our countries. We need much more certainty around how the U.S. and China are going to compete, where they're going to cooperate, and how they're going to manage conflict. Otherwise, the world is headed for a very dangerous place. We shouldn't dismiss what a failure to do so might mean for the world. Great powers rarely desire to go to war, but history is replete with horrifying examples of how they stumbled into it nonetheless. And so it is important we act now to prevent strategic competition from turning into terrible conflict. And this is not just a U.S. and China problem. Every country needs to do a better job on facilitating the coordination and cooperation the world needs. There are important problems where our individual countries' self-interest will be better served by working with one another rather than at cross purposes. Climate change is a case in point, and it's received a lot of attention. Here we have an opportunity and incentive to work together. China is ground zero for climate change, and its success in decarbonizing could transform the world's climate outlook. Failure would doom us to disastrous outcomes. China faces huge challenges of increasing its energy efficiency, and reducing overcapacity while it decarbonizes sprawling, inefficient industries that produce steel, cement, petrochemicals. And despite announcing a massive renewable energy project, China has since resorted to financing coal power during the recent power shortages. It is important that China accelerate its investments in clean technologies and environmental goods and services. Yet it should be done in a fair fashion with a level playing field. The threat of a climate challenge is so great that hopefully necessity will be the mother of cooperation. The U.S. and China agreement to establish a climate working group at COP26 sends a sorely needed positive message. And we can do more. An innovative idea is for the U.S. to negotiate with major economies to eliminate tariffs on environmental goods and services. I see no reason to have them. We should start with our allies like the UK, the European Union, and Japan. Free trade in the clean solutions of the future could generate global growth and job creation, not to mention its positive impact on our planet. With China's market alone estimated to be over $16 trillion in this sector by 2060, hopefully this time China will join. To build back beyond requires hard work too. It requires work to narrow the trust deficit, update market principles for today's world, and repair fractured global relationships. And the business community offers a reason for optimism. Business has largely outperformed governments over the past 2 years. Businesses, from the corporate leaders to researchers to factory workers to logistics managers, have innovated and outperformed government. They have distributed billions of life-saving vaccines. They have developed the technologies that made remote work possible. And businesses have created the foundation to build back beyond. So companies and workers are center stage in determining whether we succeed in addressing the challenges we've talked about today. Businesses will innovate the products and services to save our planet from the climate and biodiversity crises. They are central in ensuring that financial markets work. And how they conduct themselves is vital in determining whether societies have trust and confidence in capitalism. But businesses cannot and should not make the policies or regulations that govern economic activity. Only governments can do that. But governments must do that with businesses, or it will be to the detriment of their citizens. Businesses can partner with government to shape a U.S.-China economic relationship in an international order that works not just for their individual companies, but also for the people and the countries in which they operate. The problems we're talking about are difficult, but not intractable. We can't solve every problem, but we can make progress. We should advocate for solutions that demonstrate how market-based principles can improve people's lives. Almost every major breakthrough in history has been spawned by a big problem. And the pandemic has been our wake-up call. We have a generational opportunity to step up to this historic challenge, to this mission, to this responsibility. Thank you all.